few days ago, I realized that back on August 15th, 1977, there was a very famous flare in the radio signal that was given the name the wow signal because the observers that recorded it at the Ohio State University was stunned at how powerful this signal was. And wrote "wow" in the document that records that signal, and so it's called the "wow" signal from 1977. And I checked it. Turns out that it came from about the same direction in the sky as 3I Atlas, within 9 degrees.
On November 9th, the MeerKAT radio telescope array in South Africa picked up something that has scientists scrambling. Radio frequency emissions from 3I Atlas. Not reflected sunlight, not background noise. Active RF emissions from an object that's supposed to be a frozen chunk of ice and rock. And here's what nobody's talking about. This is the same radio telescope that's part of the SETI Institute's Breakthrough Listen project. The same instrument designed to detect artificial signals from space. They didn't aim it at 3I Atlas by accident. What did they hear? And why has every single official source gone silent about the specifics for the past 48 hours? Let me walk you through what we know for certain. The MeerKAT array in South Africa is one of the most sensitive radio telescope networks on Earth. It's specifically designed to detect faint signals across multiple radio frequencies. According to the data released by Orbital Today yesterday, MeerKAT detected radio frequency emissions from 3I Atlas as the object began emerging from behind the sun. But here's where it gets interesting. Normal comets don't emit radio signals. They reflect radio waves, sure, but active RF emissions? That requires charged particles, plasma activity, or something generating electromagnetic radiation. NASA's own Swift Observatory already confirmed 3I Atlas is losing water at 40 kilograms per second, at a distance where most solar system comets are completely dormant. That water vapor creates ions. Those ions can generate radio emissions through a process called synchrotron radiation. That's the official explanation. But look at the timeline. MeerKAT made these observations between November 7th and 9th. That's right when amateur astronomers started posting images showing 3I Atlas with multiple jet structures. Not just one jet, multiple jets. 2 pointing toward the sun, anti-tail jets, and one massive 2.85 million kilometer jet pointing away from the sun. Avi Loeb published his analysis of these jets this morning. His calculations show the object is losing 50 billion tons of mass per month. That's nearly the entire minimum calculated mass of the object. In his words, for a natural comet, this is a 1 in 100 million probability. Now ask yourself, why is MeerKAT detecting radio frequency emissions at the exact same time this object is exhibiting the most anomalous behavior we've ever seen from an interstellar visitor? MeerKAT is part of the Square Kilometer Array project. That project has partnerships with SETI. The Breakthrough Listen initiative specifically uses MeerKAT for technosignature searches for artificial signals. Go to the Breakthrough Listen website right now. Search for 3I Atlas. Nothing. 0 press releases, 0 data releases. Complete silence. But we know they're observing it. Why? Because in August, the SETI Institute held a special live stream about 3I Atlas featuring their own scientists. They discussed observation strategies. They talked about what instruments would be used. MeerKAT was on that list. So they're observing it with instruments designed to detect artificial signals. Those instruments detect radio emissions. And now, silence. No data release, no press conference, no papers. Meanwhile, NASA has been in a government shutdown since October 1st. Convenient timing. All NASA data about 3I Atlas has been locked since the day before the object reached perihelion, the closest point to the sun, the moment when, according to Loeb's hypothesis, any propulsion system would have been most active. Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna sent an official letter to NASA demanding they release the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter images of 3I Atlas. NASA's response? They'd release it after the government reopens. That was November 4th. It's November 11th now. Government still shut down. No images released. But they found time to respond to Kim Kardashian's tweet about 3I Atlas within hours. A celebrity gets answers, Congress gets stonewalled, scientists get silence. You see the pattern here. Let's talk about what radio emissions from a comet actually mean. Natural comets can produce radio waves through three mechanisms. First, plasma interactions with the solar wind. As charged particles from the sun hit the comet's coma, they create electromagnetic noise. This shows up as broadband static across multiple frequencies. Second, synchrotron radiation from electrons spiraling in magnetic fields. This creates a specific radio signature that varies with the strength of the magnetic field. Third, molecular emissions. Certain molecules like hydroxyl radicals emit at specific frequencies when excited by solar radiation. These show up as sharp spectral lines. Here's the problem. MeerKAT operates between 580 MHz and 14.5 GHz. That's an enormous range. If 3I Atlas were producing standard cometary radio emissions from plasma or synchrotron radiation, they'd be weak and spread across that entire spectrum. We're talking about signals measured in millijanskis, barely detectable without hours of observation time. But according to Orbital Today's report, MeerKAT detected these emissions. That means they were strong enough to register above background noise. That means significant electromagnetic activity. And remember, 3I Atlas is 326 million kilometers from Earth. That's more than twice the distance from Earth to the Sun. Any signal has to travel that far and still be detectable. That requires serious power. The Swift Observatory detected hydroxyl emissions, the chemical signature of water, at nearly 3 times farther from the Sun than where water ice should sublime. The explanation? Maybe small ice grains are being heated by sunlight. But now MeerKAT is detecting radio frequency emissions at the same time Loeb's calculations show the object is expelling mass at a rate that would consume its entire bulk in months. At the same time, it's exhibiting multiple jet structures that require ram pressure 1,000,000 times greater than the solar wind to maintain their shape. These aren't isolated anomalies. This is a pattern, and that pattern doesn't look natural. Loeb mentioned something in his October briefings that most outlets ignored. 3I Atlas came from the direction of the WOW signal, 9 degrees away from the exact coordinates. For those who don't know, the WOW signal was detected in 1977 by the Big Ear radio telescope. It was a 72-second narrow-band radio signal that came from deep space. It was so strong, so unusual, that astronomer Jerry Eman wrote WOW on the printout. The signal came from the constellation Sagittarius, the direction of the galactic core. That signal has never been explained. It's never been detected again, and it came from the same region of sky that 3I Atlas emerged from. Could they be related? Here's what we know. 3I Atlas has been traveling through space for an estimated 3 to 11 billion years. That's older than our solar system. If something sent a signal in 1977 from that region of space, and if something sent an object from that region of space, the timing would be nearly impossible to coordinate, given the distances involved. Unless that signal wasn't sent from a distant star system, unless it was sent from something much closer, something already in transit toward our solar system. Am I saying the WOW signal came from 3I Atlas? No, I'm saying Avi Loeb, one of the most respected astrophysicists in the world, thinks the connection is worth investigating. And now we have MeerKAT detecting radio emissions from this object right as it exhibits behavior that Loeb calculates has a 1 in 100 million chance of being natural. Here's what we know is coming, December 19th. 3I Atlas reaches its closest approach to Earth, 269 million kilometers. That's when Hubble and Webb are scheduled to perform spectroscopy. Spectroscopy can tell us the composition of those jets. It can tell us the velocity of the material being expelled. And it can tell us whether we're looking at water vapor and carbon dioxide from a natural comet or whether we're looking at something else. But here's the problem. We already know NASA has been sitting on data since October 1st. We know the government shutdown has blocked the release of any Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter images. We know SETI's Breakthrough Listen program has been observing with MeerKAT and has released nothing. What happens if the December spectroscopy shows something that doesn't fit the natural comet model? Will they tell us? Or will that data get buried under national security concerns or further analysis required? Congresswoman Luna's team confirmed last week that neither NASA nor the Pentagon has briefed Congress about 3I Atlas. This is an object that Loeb calls potentially technological, an object that the Pentagon's All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, the UAP Investigation Unit, should be tracking. And Congress knows nothing. The MeerKAT radio detection is now confirmed. The 2.85 million kilometer jet is confirmed. The statistical improbability of this being a natural object has been calculated by one of Harvard's top astrophysicists. And the official response from the institutions that are supposed to be investigating this? Silence. Shutdown. Classified. We're 38 days away from the closest approach. 38 days until Hubble and Webb can get the data we need. The question isn't whether 3I Atlas is emitting radio signals. MeerKAT already detected them. The question is what those signals are and whether we'll ever be allowed to know. I'll keep watching. You should too. Because December 19th is either going to confirm we've been visited by the most unusual natural object in recorded history, or it's going to raise questions that no one in power seems willing to answer.